try not to swear. That's my promise.
That's
So what do you want? So the lesser known backstory of Tyler Mortimer,
the lesser known, yeah.
Precisely.
Yeah. Hello, Tyler.
Hello.
Hey,
Hello,
Tyler.
everyone.
How are you?
I'm fine this lovely quarantine Monday. How are you?
Well, not too bad.
Not too bad.
I'm sat near the window, so I'm getting my vitamin D for the day.
There we go.
That's
There you go.
all that matters, isn't it? Have you been for your daily bit of exercise?
I have. I did an 8-mile run.
Very good.
So I went out and did, and then I'm following Chris Hemsworth's stay-at-home quarantine workout thing. So we a few of them as well.
Brilliant.
Look at you on the Mad Games.
Yeah.
On that search for gains, bro.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the thing that I don't really know much about, and your time as a member at SIYT.
It's weird because you guys, I don't think I met you guys until I became because I've done everything right at SIYT. I've been a member. I was a tech guy. I built some sets. I kind of just assisted on a Thursday, and then I became a director. So no one knows what it was like for me as a member. This was back when St. Ives Youth Theatre was actually it was still in black and white. Didn't actually have colour in those times. So way back when the Youth Theatre used to be at Fawn Down School. I don't know if you remember that. And it was run by this. He was a teacher at my school. And it was a big old presence in this tiny community of St. Ives and Huntingdon. So I was at school like everyone, and I was a real terrible kid at school. I wasn't very much liked by teachers, and to be honest, I wasn't very much liked by many people. But there you go. And I did art and I did drama, and that's it. I painted and I drew pictures and I did drama, and if it wasn't creative, I didn't want to have anything to do with it. So the guy who was the head of the school, or the deputy head of the school at the time, was a chap called Martin McGarry, and he's this crusty old guy who kind of speaks he pulls me in his office one day, and it was kind of one of those really cliche drama. It reminded me a lot of Glee, because it's they pull you into the office and they all sit around and they're all really concerned about you, and they're like, you're gonna go down that road where you've got the choice of being a real tearaway or really getting your life straight, and going to a theatre class for some reason is gonna be magic. It's gonna make you this really valuable person who's got something to give and all this kind of stuff. And Jono was there. And honestly, I swear down, this is exactly how it went. Martin and Jono were sat in this room, and I didn't really care much for either of them. And they said, we're doing Oliver, and we'd like you to audition for it. And I was like, in my head, I was like, of course you do. I'm great. And I was that guy. I really genuinely was. I was that guy at school. So I think some weird collaboration between Amanda Krellin, who was the drama teacher, John happened. And suddenly I found myself auditioning for Oliver. And it really was that. One night on a Thursday, I walked into one of the music rooms at the Ivo, and they go, sing this. And I was like, I don't sing. You don't know me. I don't know who you guys are. I'm not going to sing in front of you. And they said, I'll do a bit of an act then. And I did some lines, and it was Fagin. He wanted me to audition for Fagin. I didn't even sing. Brian was there. I was like, Mr. Carter from Science, you're an idiot. And I was genuinely a really horrible kid. And suddenly call back for this thing. They forced me to do a singing, and I hated every moment of it. And then he gave me the part. And I think the thing about the youth theatre at that time, they wanted kids like me.
Like this.
Nah!
Well, yeah, and then they wanted these little kind of project kids to change and develop and shape and mold into valuable members of society. And I did the shows, and the thing with me, right, I got this part of Fagin, right, first round, did the auditions. I'm bloody great. Look how awesome I am. did the shows. Shows were fantastic. Sold out every night, probably because of me. And then it came to the next show, and the next show was Oh What a Lovely War. Like, I think we did that show, and God, like, I was in love with this girl called Hannah Beamish, right? Don't tell her, but like, she was incredible. Like, she was the most talented person I'd ever met. Like, there was a guy called Sam Conway in the theatre as well. He was a real talented guy. And Sexy Javan.
Sexy Javan.
Right.
Oh, guy was just the hottest thing on the planet. So, like, they all got the good parts, right? Because they deserved them. They were really good people, you know. And I didn't get, like, I got a chorus part, and I did what everyone does when they get a chorus part for the first time. Threw my toys out the pram, had a real diva strop about it, and yeah, like, it just became a real horrible person to work with. And I think that's then it was Korchak season after that, and that was like 3-4 years of youth theatre. Like, I guess people don't really realise, like, the inception of the Korchak era with all the little baby Korchakians and all this kind of stuff went on forever. And I did the whole trip over to Poland, doing Auschwitz, all this kind of stuff, really brilliant, amazing stuff. But I never actually did the show. Again, because the guy who was running the youth theatre at the time made a huge mistake and didn't cast me as Bula. Which was the part I wanted. So yeah, I guess, like, I had a really very unsuccessful kind of career as a performer or a member of the youth theatre. But I think that was kind of important, because when I left youth theatre, very unceremoniously, I just kind of stopped going. I took up smoking. I thought I looked really cool. You know, I just didn't bother with it. It became nothing to me, and I kind of walked away from it. And I say this because it was only when I got to that point that I realised actually how important it was to me, and how kind of all these teachers were a bit right, you know. And I wanted to be kind of a better version of myself, and I wanted to kind of challenge myself and have these big moments of people standing and applauding me, saying, "You are great, Tyler." So I kind of got this call off the guy who was running it, saying, "Well, why don't you come and help out for a bit?" And I turned up really randomly on a Thursday, and it was at Thorndown. I said, "What can I do? Like, what do you want me to do?" And I started there. I started building sets, and I started doing kind of anything, all sorts, like helping out with trips to EAM and printing scripts and making sure kids didn't smoke too much at the break or whatever. It was a really different youth theatre back then. And I remember turning around to Jono and going, like, I'd really like to have a crack at doing a play and, like, directing a play. And like, genuinely, he just said yes, like, straight away. I think he was getting a little tired of doing it himself. It's like, well, finally, like, someone's decided to help. And then, like, I think I'd never taken anything more seriously in my life. Like, the responsibility of all of it kind of really sunk in. and that was it. Then the journey had kind of come full circle. I'd finally understood what youth theatre actually was, and what their aim for me was, and what my aim for myself was, and suddenly all it needed was for someone to go, actually, here's an opportunity you want, take it, like it's yours, and then suddenly you realize, wow, okay, I really have to take it seriously, and like, scared me a lot, but yeah, it was great. And then and thus starts the next bit, which is the director bit.
So tell us, coming back to not only direct and then end up as head honcho, if you will.
So it was weird because I think I was kind of the last person anyone would have expected to end up where I did, which I even weird now as a 30-year-old man, to kind of turn around and say that I was on the committee of the theatre as well as being the full-time artistic director of the company, and what have you. And I can kind of talk through some of the milestones of what happened. I really don't remember it like you guys remember it. Because you guys remember it like as in, oh, we did this and we did that. And I just remember like it started off as a show called Bang Bang You're Dead. And turning around to Jono and going like, I'd love to have a crack at that. And going, yes. And you kind of, suddenly it becomes like this weird obsession where I think 1 hour, 2 hour every night, you're looking at this script thinking, how can I do this? You're suddenly organising rehearsals. Then suddenly you're doing youth theatre on Thursday. You have one set of rehearsals on a Wednesday, for example, another set on a Sunday. And in the nights in between, you're planning what you're doing at those rehearsals and what have you. And I mean, I'd always studied theatre and I'd always studied art, so I quite enjoyed it. It didn't seem like work at that point. So we put on this two-hander. It was Lord of the Flies, which had Martin McGarry in it.
It did.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that.
And Bang Bang You're Dead. And it was a really challenging piece. And I remember having to sit kind of in front of a piece about school shootings, which was extremely relevant at the time and is still extremely relevant now. And I remember sitting in front of the committee having to try and like explain to them why it's important to do this kind of work. And I'm sure you've had similar conversations with people yourself. Because at that time they were kind of just doing these like Christian la-di-da like musicals with morals and values, blah blah blah. Yeah, great, but like let's have some swears and some violence on stage. So yeah, we did that, and it was great. Like everyone who was part of it enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I think the cast enjoyed it. The audience kind of went, that was meaningful, and it was really good. And it gave me kind of permission to, within the kind of youth theatre political hierarchy, to kind of go, you all thought I was an idiot, but I'm not. You all thought like I was the tearaway, but look, your work's paying off.
Yeah.
It's kind of your fault that I'm here. And I remember Tim Dry became really important to me at like that point in my youth theatre career, because I think he was the one I really had to win over at the time. His role I think he was chairman at the time.
Yeah.
I can't remember. But winning him over was super important. And he started to kind of believe in me as well. And our friendship kind of started kicking off. And it was really weird because I think we're polar opposites. But he's a really lovely dude. And he kind of suggested, well, if you can do this, why don't you have a crack at something else? And like, we want to do Shakespeare. We want to kind of do a Shakespeare. And I think at that point in my own career, I'd acted in A Midsummer Night's Dream twice for 2 different tours. And I was like, all right, well, I'll do Midsummer Night's Dream because I know it the most.
Yeah.
Like the rest of them, I don't really know, and it'll be funny. We'll do Midsummer Night's Dream, and I did. You were in it.
We were both in it. Yeah.
Yeah,
We were both in it.
And I kind of just, I mean, you guys were there. I kind of just wing and a prayer, to be honest. And Trish was really hands-on at that point as well. She was becoming really hands-on in the company, which was great because she was bad cop and I was good cop. And Ian as well was becoming really hands-on. I think he was just about to take over as chairman.
Yeah,
He was chairman for a bit.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And it was great because there was no music, so it was still quite easy for me to kind of just plod through and direct and just go, you say the words like this, and you guys did your magic and made it brilliant. And
this man is Pyramus, if you would know. This contagious lady is being said. This man will live and broadcast on present more.
And we dressed up the Corn Exchange because it was kind of one of the first shows we did in the Corn Exchange.
Yeah.
It had just become like that become our home. And we dressed it up with real turf, and Mick Stoneyhurst was kind of complaining every night because it was his job to water the plants and what have you. It was great. Yeah, it was really good fun. Bradley Durnley was in it. He was Puck, wasn't he?
He was, yeah.
He was
indeed.
Bloody Bradley Durnley. He was brilliant.
He was very good.
So nostalgia.
Yeah.
And that was great, and the parents liked it, and it was at that point like parents started coming up to me and going like, "Oh, Tyler, you doing good things," and you kind of go, "Oh, parents are really nice." It was actually about that point in my life I started walking around St Ives, which is this tiny little town, as you know, and I couldn't walk down the street without bumping into someone's mum or dad, and I had to really start kind of being a professional stand-up human outside of youth theatre. Like, you know, at youth theatre, right? It was like this condensed 2 hours of like, okay, I've got to try my best to be a really good person so that the kids don't see me swear and the kids think like there's something that they can achieve, and they can, you know. It's just about banding people together. And then suddenly it starts bleeding out into your real world life, and it's quite weird. Like, I started making friends with your dad, Botley. I met your dad a few times as well, like in the shops. You know, you go out to Waitrose and suddenly they're like, "Oh, Tyler, hi." It's like, oh God, I have to be important here too. But yeah, we did that, and then I think the challenge became, well, you have to do a summer musical now. Like, and everyone started looking like Tyler's going to do a summer musical, and I think that kind of settled in, and I kind of spent a lot of time mulling over what musical to do and what have you. I think I assisted on Vision that year that we did Vision and went up to the Fringe and all this. So of course Bugsy happens, and I think Bugsy's the one I'm like, if you ask me what show I'm most proud of at Youth Theatre, Bugsy was pretty special. Like, it's the first time we spent a lot of money on that set.
Yeah.
We got a fairly hefty budget for that show, and just I think the thing that actually made it really special for me wasn't so much that I got to kind of suggest a show and the committee went, yeah, we'll do that, that's great, and what have you, and the responsibility of it all landed on me. It was the fact that every member in the company really wanted the show to happen.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes when you suggest a show at the youth theatre, 50% of the company would be like, yeah, this is banging, I'm really into it. And then the other 50% like, no, but I think, like, I turned up and I went, we're going to do Bugsy. And everyone was like, yes, this show. And I was like, not only that, we're going to get real custard ducks. And everyone was like, so.
On board with it, yeah, absolutely.
I remember that announcement very well, because I think we literally went crazy for it.
We're so excited.
Yeah, people just started going Fruit Loops for it. Everyone wanted in, and I think that's actually the start of a period of time in the youth theatre where SIYT FAM started happening, and it started becoming less of a theatre company and more of like a little cult. Where like people would die for each other.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely.
But also, to be honest, at that time, that's suddenly where it became kind of really challenging, because that stopped being like 3 nights a week and suddenly became every night. And it not just for me, for teams of people. Like, I think at that time there were about 20, at least 14 to 20 volunteers working for the company. like backstage in various different roles, committee members, what have you. And I think the reason it became SIYT fam is because members particularly, suddenly became aware of those people and the work that those people were doing. And people started realizing actually the youth theatre is bigger than Thursday night. It's this huge entity, and you start fundraising for shows like this. You start trying to get like money through the door so that you can put on great pieces of work. And you have like kids like Stanley Horseman. There's quiet little mouse of a human suddenly banging out like the biggest set alongs known possible, with Lily Mead hanging off him, and you're like, and then all the other guys are like, "Oh, I wish I was like Stanley Horseman." Yeah. And then you're like, "Job done, mate. Job done." Yeah. But that was great, and we sold out every night of that run.
Yeah.
Which, like, I've since leaving the youth theatre, I've tried to sell audiences like that and tried to get tickets, and it's so difficult, and it was just magic, that whole thing. We instead of doing end on at Burgess Hall, I turned up and was like, we're going to do it sideways. And then the committee members would shout at me a bit. A lot of it was convincing the committee more than anyone else, and convincing myself, I suppose. But I remember at the end of Bugsy, like everyone on this like whirlwind, drink the Kool-Aid, this isn't a cult, I promise you it isn't a cult kind of thing. And the last night of Bugsy was huge. We had this big party after the show and all this kind of stuff. And we'd already decided what the summer musical was going to be for the next year. And it was great because all this time I'd argue with the committee, like, I want to do Grease. I want to do Grease. And no, it's too adult. It's got pregnancy in it. Kids have sex in the show, and they mention dirty words, and it's got swears, and the parents won't like it. And I spent years trying to convince the committee that that's what we should be doing. And I finally got, I think it was Chris. Chris was the chairman at the time, and I finally convinced him to let me do it. And he literally, like 4-5 minutes before I was going to announce it, said, "Yeah, all right." And I turned around at the party and announced, like, "Guys, by the way, we're going to do Grease, and we're going to the Fringe next year." And everyone went Fruit Loops, and I got covered in splurge, and it was brilliant.
Yeah.
So then the next challenge.
I was just going to say that really was such a high. I remember that, just like that night was just like nothing else. The elation in the room.
It was pretty insane, man. And like as an adult, like you can barely like be at an after show party and go like, this is the craziest party I've been to. 'Cause it's really not. But like it's the energy of kind of being exhausted after a production week is a real thing, like especially for I think the adult teams helping around like a big production musical like that, and you're tired and sleepy, but then you've got these kids coming out like bashing their little hearts out on stage, giving the performances of their lives 3 nights over a weekend. And then they've still somehow got energy to scream about something that's not happening until next year. And you kind of it's kind of what keeps you going, because it reminds you of how excited you were, to have moments like that, and to give moments like that is really important, I think. So yeah, we did that. That was fun. I think that was my personal favourite time, because I think after that we did the Hell Year, which was the final year of my youth theatre taking her out. I did the spring shows at that time, which was What I Want to Say But Never Will. That was also our Fringe run the same year.
Well, you did more than that, because you did that was What I Want to Say was it a November run, wasn't it? And then you did We Lost Elijah before.
Yeah, the National Connection stuff.
4 different shows.
Yeah, in 1 year, and a French run. And it was insane. I think it was the biggest year. I don't know actually since I've left, but I think it was the biggest year the youth theatre had ever done in terms of scale of And when I say like it suddenly became every day, it became every day and every night. Like I lived with Trish and Ian at the time, so I also worked 9 to 5 as well. So this wasn't the only thing I did. So I woke up, I went to work, I came home from work, I sat down at a dinner table with Trish and Ian, and we talked about whatever was happening that day. We went and did that, whether that was like building a set, invoicing for this, that, or the other, going to a committee meeting, going to run a Thursday night session, running a rehearsal for music, running a rehearsal for choreography, trying to get someone to do the choreography because no one knows how to dance except Leon Bach and Lily. Or Harry German, man. Boy can throw a pirouette like no one else.
Yeah.
And then it was every day. It was Monday through Sunday, and then start again on Monday, and that for a year, that intensity.
Yeah.
And when you've got like the company riding on your back, like going to the National Connections thing is huge, and I'm sure people have done it there, and we know this. To have that association with the National Theatre is a really important thing, and I think it was the first time we tried that. And again, the Royal Shakespeare Connections as well, like that was another thing we were doing with the youth theatre for the Shakespeare stuff. And you suddenly realise the business brain part of it and how important it is to kind of raise the profile, which is easy for us actually at the Fringe, because as previously noted, going up to the Fringe with an army of 60 children and 20 volunteers is going to get you noticed. Like taking over Musselburgh. Like, do you know what's weird, right? I live down the road from Musselburgh, right? And I went to, like, that place is tiny. Like, it's smaller than St. Ives, really. And turning up with 60 kids must have, like, people who lived there must have been like, oh my God.
Yeah.
We've been invaded. But yeah, and it was that was what I call the hell year. But I knew it was my last year. I knew I was kind of going out. I think about halfway through that year, I decided, okay, I've done all the things. And I wanted to go to uni. I wanted to go and do a degree. The reason I hadn't was actually because I left school with art and drama. That's it. I didn't have the grades to do university, if you would. So doing the youth theatre and having all that voluntary experience and also becoming a mature student, things like that really helped. While I was at youth theatre, I redid all my GCSEs. I took an extra A level so I could get the points, the UCAS points.
Yeah.
And then I had everything I needed. I was tired. So that was it. But it was great. It was really good.
It must have been such a massive undertaking with all that going on, and youth theatre and just life. You know, trying to go to work in this, such a huge undertaking.
Well, it was good and it was bad. I mean, it was a knife that cut both ways, I think.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how much joy I took from it and how much it's benefited me as the soppy, you know, alien part of my brain will tell you, like, it was all this. It was these lovely moments, the swelling romantic music, the inspirational speeches, you know, all that kind of stuff. But, you know, on the other hand, it's, I think and you guys will know, like, the challenges are very real, like, and to give yourself, like, over to that and to put the time that you guys are currently putting into it. You know, when you're sitting here interviewing me, you're taking time out of your life to do that. You know, when you're running a rehearsal, you're taking time out of your life to do that. And sometimes people don't recognize, like, the toll that actually has on as much as you love it. And I know you guys love it, of course you do. You know, do that for a straight year and tell me that you still you're still, you know, happy. So yeah, I guess it was a lot of that. I think by the time the end came, I think Trish and Ian were getting quite fed up with me living in their spare room as well. Like, I think they were kind of like, who's this weird, smelly man who rarely showers? Like, but yeah, I think the nice thing for me now, like looking back at it, is like we are years removed. I came and saw your shows. I came and saw DNA and Pinter, and I turned up. I went upstairs to come and say hi to you before the show. I turned up to a room who had no idea who I was.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, really, weirdly, that's really nice, because it's been at least then 3 generations of youth theatre members, really, who have all benefited from people giving their time and their passion and their energy to something greater than themselves for nothing, really. You don't get paid to do youth theatre. And what they're really giving is love, for the love of this thing to work.
Yeah.
And that love has continued well after me, well after I was a thing. And the youth theatre still runs to this day, And I know that sounds like a really small thing, but I know what it takes to keep those wheels turning. And it's a really rewarding and a really beautiful thing to see that. And it's really rewarding to see you guys doing it as well. It's like, you were little idiots like me. You had no idea what was happening in the world, and now suddenly, you're standing at the reins of a huge ship with completely no idea what's happening with the world.
It is weird. It's like you do find yourself in a situation. Sam more so than me, I'm sure. But when Sam asked me to come back and direct, you find yourself in this weird situation like that. That's crazy. Like, I shouldn't have that much power. Like I used to be the one being told what to do, by you or by Jono or whoever, being told off for costumes by Trish, and now I'm telling people off for leaving their costumes out or whatever.
It's bonkers, right? Because Trish used to be my whip, right? She used to turn around to be like, Tyler, no, or whatever, and that was great because I needed to be held responsible by someone, right? Otherwise, I'd have just gone crazy, right? But when 60 kids are looking at you in complete silence, going, "What do we do next?" and you suddenly have that realization of like, "Oh, you're waiting for me to speak."
Yeah.
Trish, and it's bonkers, and it really was the thing. Going back to being the member, this stupid, horrible kid, and I really was. I was a terrible, terrible kid. And where I am now is really the only thing I can attribute from being there to being here is this big red and white banner which says SIYT on it. I think other than Jess, because Jess is now longer serving, and if you are a youth theatre member and you haven't gone up to Jess lately and given her a high five and told her how great she is, do that tomorrow. Send her a message on Facebook. I don't know, a Jess Jess Appreciation Day needs to happen.
Excellent.
I think I've been the longest. I needed the youth theatre for the longest out of anyone else I know. You get this time of I'm a member here and I finish here, and I never did that. I became a member. I left for a couple of weeks because I was a grumpy little asshole, and then I went back, and I needed that. I needed the youth theatre for that long, and I think that's the great thing about you guys too, is that you realise that the youth theatre is there for as long as you need it, and take it, use it.
Do you have any words of wisdom for the current members?
The real theatre industry is horrible place, full of administrations. There's this thing called Grantium, which I know you don't know about yet, but it's been designed by the Arts Council so that white middle-class men can make plays more than you can. It's important that you realise that as an actor, you are an artist. You are not being told by an artist what to do to be an artist. You are an artist. You get to create and paint as much as anyone else does. Go to Hull University. It's brilliant. Hull gets the really bad rep, but it's a really nice, really nice place. Make stuff because you can. Whatever that is, don't wait for someone to give you permission to to do that. Like, just go out and do it. It's really fun, especially in St Ives and Huntingdon. Man, go hire the Corn Exchange and put on, you know, I don't know, One for the Road, or write a play called Swear Words. You know, one day it would be nice to kind of. I guess you guys are doing it. You're being the historians of the youth theatre, and I think it's gone on for so long now. Like, it deserves this almost historian approach to looking at it. Like, there is a history to this organisation that I think the people in it now, and certainly when I was in it, I didn't care about like what happened before me. Like, it was all about me, right? I'm incredible.
Yeah.
But like, watching it from afar now, like, and seeing what it's doing and just seeing it actually existing is in itself its own reward. You know, like, when I saw like you were doing DNA and Pinter, I was like, ah! I turned around to my girl. Like, so we saw DNA and Pinter. I was like, oh my god, the Ethereum doing Pinter! Oh my god! And I turned to my girlfriend and I said, they're doing Pinter, they're doing DNA. And she's like, oh, they're really good plays. I was like, they're more than good plays.
Yeah.
When flights from Edinburgh to Hampstead that night, right?
That night,
Hired
wow.
a car, right? Stayed at Trish's place, so we didn't have to pay for a hotel, right? But like, hiring the car and the flights alone, expensive enough. Crashed the car, right? While we were down in Ives. That trip cost more than £1,000.
Wow.
Christ.
You didn't
I'm never
know
coming
about
back
that.
to see any more shows.
Yeah. Oh god. And that's such an expensive trip, and only going to St Ives. That's a bit disappointing.
So you asked me if I had any advice for the kids, and I did that. Like, I did like, you know, be an artist, all that kind of rubbish, right? I got some advice for you too. Okay, so the St Ives Youth Theatre is a really, really young company by comparison to other companies, right? We don't need to do sequels, or we don't need to do like Vision Point 2, you know. Be original, be bold, take some really dangerous steps like you already are, and fight the committee. Committee, you're gonna hate that. Committee, you're gonna hate that I said that. Stoney Hurst will be like, it's all right. But, like, but yeah, do some like, we're too young to. What we've done, Vision twice now. What else did we do?
Bugsy's twice. Bugsy's been done twice.
Well, that was like within 5 years of each other as well, I'm sure. Like, come on.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I guess what is next?
Well, this is the thing.
Difficult
Until
situation.
we get things sorted, it is a difficult question. We'll probably edit this bit out. But obviously, Fringe is in our sights, but that depends on many things.
Ooh,
like
that's
money.
Exciting. Yeah, and I guess like you must have like a generation of youth theaterian members who've never done a Fringe now, who are really going to kind of benefit from the experience of doing that, which is terrifying. That's a scary thing. Yeah. Oh,
but the Fringe is a magical place for those kind of, like, that group of kids, like the members. Like, it's just a different thing, and we spoke about that with everyone who's been to the Fringe. It's a step in a different direction.
Well, it's weird. I guess I live in Edinburgh now. This is Tyler Mortimer live from Edinburgh, and I suppose the reason I live here now is also a youth theatre thing. Like, I went to the Fringe for almost 8 years on the trot. Like, we worked at the Fringe together, me and Sam.
We did.
Plenty of stories from that we can't talk about.
Good interruption.
And it's a really great place. So I'll be keenly waiting on you guys coming up and seeing what you guys are doing. But it's really nice to kind of be on the outside of it. Like, I went back and when I came to see you guys, like, my girlfriend gets it, right? My girlfriend understands how nostalgic I get for youth theatre stuff. And when you're there in the Corn Exchange, looking at the lighting rig and watching everyone do all their work and smile, and all the parents kind of nod and pat backs, and it kind of takes you back, and you ask yourself, like, do I just want to move to St Ives to
Yeah.
do youth theatre stuff again and like be involved? And the answer is actually a resounding no. It's really nice to see it in the hands of someone else and in the hands of people who are passionate and who care about it. And I'm really proud of you guys.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, don't say that. I was about to mention that as well. Like, you and saying that you're proud of people, like, gets me going.
Well, no,
Stop
you
it.
guys have stepped up to a very difficult podium to put yourself on. I know that. I think maybe a little bit more than most people, and I'm very proud of you. I really am. I think you're both great. So, and the work you're producing is fantastic, and you're challenging, and that's great. More swears, more swear words.
There was a fair few in
Always
DNA. I tried as hard as I could, Tyler.
Yeah.
And I
More
think
swears.
think I allowed
really,
a couple
really
of extra.
shake the parents.
Yeah. Well, we do keep talking about, we talk about, when we were in youth theatre, generally the shows that we were doing, were a bit more gritty, he says, they were, well, at least they're a bit more, lesser known, and therefore, audience.
I think it's just because we always treated it with an honesty. I think when you look at the West End and you go to a West End show, like bar like things like Book of Mormon and stuff like that, but when they're always like these really shined, polished versions of life that don't really actually happen, like where people spontaneously burst into song and all this kind of stuff. And we always kind of were more with Grease, for example. Yeah, there was a teen pregnancy in it, and you can do Grease and ignore that. You can, and I think a lot of people do when they're working with young people. They ignore that approach, and we were like, no, like young people get pregnant, like young people do stuff with, and
that was a tentative wagging finger.
Yeah, and if you ignore it, then what's the point? Like I did a whole play, and people were. This is after youth theatre. I did a tour of the UK with a play called Sad, and people were like, "Oh, you should put an age rating on it." I was like, "No." Like I spent my early career working with young people, and this is stuff I talk to young people about. Like suicide happens. Like it doesn't care about how old you are. Like it's a topic that we need to discuss so that we can be prepared for it if it does, happen. And I think shying away from stuff is just, I don't know. I get in a lot of trouble for some of my opinions about it. So maybe do youth theatre how you feel is appropriate. But more swears. That's all I have to say.
Thanks, Tyler.
Okay, bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
Tyler. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
So what I'm asking you to do is just repeat what I sing, basically, when I either nod at you or point at